Good morning and welcome to Mask Live. Thank you for joining us today. Today, our episode is Digitally Raised, Raising Kids in a Digital World. So when we think about raising kids in a digital world, what comes to mind for me is, will our children become victims of cancel culture? Today, we will be discussing how you can help your children represent and protect themselves in a digital world. Our expert is Mr. Jason Manning. He is an experienced leader in journalism and digital media, teaching and practicing at Arizona State University. He is Executive Director of Digital Media for Educational Outreach and Student Services. He directs media, messaging, and content creation that serves all of Arizona State University students. Mr. Manning also oversees ASU Student Creative Services, where the next generation of media professionals receives hands-on real-world training. He also is a father, and he is going to give us great information today. We are so excited to have him here. Just know that we are live right now, and you are more than welcome to join in and ask Mr. Manning any questions you have as we go through this discussion. So thank you for being here today, Jason Manning.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's an important topic.
It sure is. So, I was preparing for this and I was thinking about all the challenges our kids have been through over the past year, not to mention the constant changes that are happening in social media. And it seems as though cancel culture is on the rise. We have everybody from J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, to Dr. Seuss being canceled. Is cancel culture spinning out of control?
Well, I don't like the term cancel culture in and of itself because I think it's inadequate. I think it's being used to describe a lot of different situations that are unique, and it's being applied as sort of a one-size-fits-all moniker to many different problems that have arisen through social media. So it depends on what we mean by cancel culture. I think public figures, celebrities have always been in the public eye, and when they have an opinion about something or they make a remark, there has always been a reaction from the public. I think what's new with social media is the intensity and the swiftness of that reaction, I think, can take them by surprise. But I think if you're a public figure, that sort of goes with the territory. You make your living off of interacting with the public. When you have opinions or make statements, the public is going to react. I think the issue for our families is that when someone who is not a public figure is sort of targeted or bullied or receives negative attention. And even that, you have to sort of parse out case by case. Some of what is called cancel culture in a negative way is really people being held accountable for things that they say that aren't appropriate, that aren't acceptable. And then other times people are being sort of mobbed and bullied online for benign, unimportant things. And so I think you have to take it, on a case by case basis. I don't think from, a family and educational and parental perspective that we need to be overly stressed out about this, as long as we take a few precautions and do some teaching within our own families.
Makes complete sense. So I guess for me, what comes to mind is, because cancel culture, or because this negative behavior is happening with public figures, does it translate to our kids feeling that this is acceptable and okay And do they become, somewhat immune to it, and it just becomes common to treat their peers the way they see other people are treating, are. And like, I love the way you said it's a case by case situation. And so if you could just expand on between your professional expertise and your parenting expertise, like, how would you help kids be prepared for what they can be potentially exposed to?
Yeah, that's really the key. And we've spent, I spent time on this as a parent, plus as an educator with our students here at ASU. One of the things that we talk a lot about is to remember there's an input and sort of an output or reaction, and some wisdom and some restraint and some thought on both ends is really helpful. And so for our kids to think about that, when you're posting online, you're making a public statement. Even, we have kids that talk about, well, my accounts are private, and, the kid could have 300, friends on a private, quote unquote, account. That's not really private. So anytime you're posting on social media, you are making a public statement, and there may be a reaction to that. So to think carefully about that. And, as we have in our social media guidelines, which we can share, we have social media guidelines for students at ASU. One of the things that we emphasize heavily is to slow down and to think through. And when you're in a vulnerable situation, to maybe wait before you post. So if you're angry, or if you're sad, or if you are, not at your best, maybe that's not the best time to post. Maybe you wait and think things through. So that's sort of the input side. And the other side is, as you react, are you, is your reaction to what somebody else posts on social media, is it helpful? Is it productive? Does it really add anything? Is it going to make the world better? Is it going to make your life better? Or are you just sort of piling on, with the rest of the mob, and, what good can come of that? And I think if we practice, all of us, and if we teach our children that and our students that, a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of restraint on both sides, we'd be a lot better off.
Makes complete sense. So I love that. I mean, I think that it's, in today's instant gratification world, it's a little challenging for all of us to slow down, stop and think, and I think it's critical to teach our kids critical thinking.
Yes.
And helping them decipher what they see. Is it real? Is it true? Is it worthy of being out there? And as you said, I love the input and output part of it. I mean, that's excellent advice. It's easier said than done when you're in the heat of an emotional moment, I suppose.
Absolutely. And that's the danger of social media. It's at our fingertips. It's literally in our hands, and maybe in our hands 24 hours a day for some of us. That's one of the other things that we encourage our students to do, is to take a break. And definitely in our family, we have non-screen time, where you're not tied to your device all the time, and encourage our kids to get out and interact in person, to interact with each other in person, their friends in person, with the family in person, and I think that builds a separate set of communication skills and a separate set of empathetic skills that will help them, when they're interacting digitally. And the other thing I should say is, there has been good that comes from social media movements. There have been very successful raising of awareness on issues that people care about. There's been successful fundraising efforts. There have been successful efforts to help people who are victims of crimes or disasters. And so, not all of the sort of what we might call activism on social media is negative and shallow. A lot of it is deeply felt. it's profoundly thought through, and it can be positive as well. But I think the thinking it through part is the key.
I completely agree. And I love that. Yeah, I heard a story last night, I believe, on the news about a girl that was missing, and due to social media, she was found pretty quickly. So there are wonderful, wonderful positive things that come out of it. One of the things that we discuss at Mask, and I'm sure this aligns with what you do with ASU students and even in your own family, but I feel like it has to be mentioned. I think that we all, our society has and culture has a way of thinking that the world full of emotions, happiness is the most acceptable emotion. And I believe that we need to help our kids name and feel and deal with their emotions. That's what we believe at Mask. We need to learn how to name emotions. So, like you mentioned earlier, whether you're sad or mad or frustrated or disappointed, we can help our kids articulate that and understand that it's okay to feel those that way, and that there's a way to process those emotions rather than turning to be reactive, perhaps.
Yes, definitely. And in terms of social media, when is it productive and how is it productive to be honest about those emotions?
Right, because then again, sometimes our people are being so honest, it opens up a whole nother can of worms that's challenging for maybe a young person to handle.
Absolutely. Again, these are public statements. No matter what you think about the supportiveness of your group of friends, this is material that could end up widely, publicized, widely known by the public. And so, if these are conversations that are better had with your parents or with a counselor or with a trusted person, you should be careful about sharing that in a public environment. On the other hand, honesty and understanding that social media is not representative necessarily of the real world. A lot of times you're seeing people's best experiences. And in many cases, in terms of the commercial aspect of it and influencers, you're not even seeing reality. You're seeing a staged production that takes the place of reality. And so helping students and children understand that and navigate that is really important.
So, yeah, how do we help them understand that what they see out there with celebrities and high profile figures may not be the reality of real world for them?
Well, I think it's often to point out that there's a commercial aspect to what some celebrities are doing. Sometimes that is disclosed, sometimes it's not. It's worth looking into. I teach at the journalism school. And so we say, look deeper, look at the next level, try to understand the whole picture. And so that celebrity and that pair of shoes may be a commercial relationship, right? And may not be that that person just loves that pair of, $1,000 sneakers. It may be that, there's a commercial relationship and they're being paid to endorse those. And it's, whether that's good or bad, on its face, it's good to understand it. It's good for our children to understand that that is happening.
So, what age do you think kids can really understand that? How young? Because they're being exposed to these things very young.
Yeah, I think very young, you can start having age appropriate conversations, as early as, school age, kindergarten and up, because when they start interacting with peers, that's when, even Zoom school, online school that so many of us are familiar with now, is happening to students of all ages. And that's their first interaction digitally, often, even if they haven't seen any social media app, they are familiar with going online and interacting that way. And so, it's never too early. We need to be aware of how much complexity children can handle and have, again, age appropriate conversations. But, it is like the air that we breathe now. And so there's almost no way it can be too early to start these conversations.
Right. Well, thank you. I mean, just to let our viewers know that Mask the magazine provides quite a detailed section on conversation starters, age appropriate conversation starters for parents to help them speak to kids age appropriately about sometimes tough to talk about topics. So we're going to stop right now. We're going to take a break, and then we will this complete segment will be available on the Mask Matters app, and viewers who are watching now can tune in to can download the Mask Matters app on Google Play or on the App Store, and you can see this segment in its entirety. But we're going to take a break now. But when we come back, and we do have this segment fully loaded up to our app, we will be discussing in more detail, best practices for our kids with digital safety and being digitally raised. So thank you again, Mr. Manning, for being here, and thank you all who have joined us on YouTube Live today. We will look forward to seeing you again for many more Mask Live sessions. We're doing them monthly. Lean in to us for every age and every stage. You can listen and learn